just share. There's a button at the bottom of the screen and it says share.
No. I'm having trouble hanging up with the Virgin Islands.
Oh,
I'm still there. Okay, so my PowerPoint is up on my monitor.
okay.
You'll invite me to share it?
I will stop sharing mine
Yeah.
and then you'll be able to share yours.
Okay. I'm good to go.
All right, cool.
Sorry about the close call. I just had one already scheduled from 2 to 3, so I had to jump off and get over here.
And it was with people in the Virgin Islands?
Yes, ma'am.
You couldn't just go there live and in person? Wouldn't that be better?
I've done that for 8 weeks in the past, and I did everything I could to get invited, but everything's virtual at the moment.
Oh,
But I'll go back someday.
sure.
Actually, when I went last time, it was right back after the storms.
Mm-hmm.
And I was helping the retailers get open again. There was no internet and no air conditioning on the island.
Oh, that doesn't sound fun at all.
No, that was interesting to say the least. There's a little Cisco WebEx thing blinking at the bottom of the screen.
Oh, that's probably the icon telling you that you have a call or a WebEx meeting coming up.
Oh, okay. And these pictures, are these your colleagues or people that have come to see the presentation?
They are people online waiting with bated breath for your presentation.
Excellent. I'll give them my A game. How about that?
All right.
Did you know I'm a Texan?
I think you mentioned that. Yes.
Yeah, so you can trust me.
All right.
I was born in Dallas, Parkland Hospital.
That means you're okay then.
I am okay. And my little sister still lives in Mansfield. And all her kids live down there. So when you asked me to come in person, I usually have free places to stay because my relatives live down there.
There you go.
Yeah. I love coming to Texas. And ever since this dang COVID, no one's been traveling anywhere.
Yeah, I hope we're close to the end of this.
I do too. I spent 40 years traveling, and this past 16 months is the most time I've spent at home in 40 years. Because the whole time I was running companies and stores, I was traveling. So before I became a consultant, I was already a vagabond. So I'm used to being on the road. My wife and I have spent more time together in 16 years than we have in the past. I mean, in 16 months in the past 35 years.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I've gotten to know her again. And our son's, he's 30. He's long gone, so. Okay, we got a minute.
Yep.
Well, this should be fun. And I try to get people, how do you want to handle, Paul, if someone wants to ask a question or make a comment? Do we let them do that during the presentation or we save them for the end?
Whatever you prefer. What we've been doing is asking everyone to put their questions in the chat box and then we'll read them out at the end.
Yeah, that's fine with me, but I have no problem with having, the reason I like to let people do it throughout is I encourage comments. They don't have to be questions. They may have something to add to what I've said. And I think colleagues can train colleagues better than I can.
Oh,
So
that's a valid point.
it's up to you, but I usually just say, raise your hand and the host will let you ask.
Okay.
Because we're not in danger of going over the hour, hour and a half. That's not a problem. In fact, I've kind of made my presentations a little shorter over the past year and a half because I think people are getting uh, burnt out on webinars. So I want to get to the point and get to it fast and tell them what they need to know.
And I am sure that people appreciate that.
I think they do. I think, a long seminar, a webinar now is just painful for some people. So I try to be succinct and give people things they can actually use.
Okay. We appreciate that. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get started.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome everyone to our webinar titled eCommerce. I'm Paula McCain. I'm a recovery business advisor at the North Central Texas Small Business Development Center. And I put up my Christmas decorations just in time to put up my Easter decorations. The SBDC is the leading provider of assistance for small businesses. We're grant funded, and because of that we are able to actually provide webinars such as this one at no cost to you. Today, as I said, our topic is e-commerce, and it is presented by Mark Wilson. And we can put questions in the chat room. And if you want to add something or you have an immediate question, then raise your hand and you can talk to Mark directly. Now I'm going to hand it over to Mark to introduce himself to us. Welcome, Mark.
Good afternoon, Texans everywhere. As I told Paula earlier, I am a Texan, so you can trust me. So what I tell you is the truth. And, I believe in sharing the truth because my dad told me as a young man, tell the truth, you'll have less to remember. So what I tell you is the truth. Sometimes you'll like it, sometimes you won't. But I'm not Gordon Ramsay. I'm not going to make anybody cry. And I'm not going to cuss at you or use foul language. I'm a gentleman and will remain that way. So just a little backstory on me so you know kind of who you're talking to. I'm a botanist by education. You may find that interesting. And a biology major. So I was in the sciences in college. And when I graduated, I went to work for a place called Longwood Gardens. And I want you all, if you all have a notepad, write that down because that place needs to be on your bucket list. It's called Longwood Gardens. It's outside Philadelphia in Kennett Square, PA, and it is one of the finest horticultural sites in the world. And I'm an ordained minister, so I know a little bit about the Garden of Eden. And darn if I wasn't working in the Garden of Eden right out of college. It's one of the most beautiful places on the planet. And I get a call from my brother who's getting his master's degree at GW in DC. And he went to work as a part-timer while he was getting his graduate degree at a shoe store in Georgetown. And Georgetown's a posh suburb of DC with stores and restaurants and bars and all sorts of stuff happening. And he said, this guy is making more money. Now, this was the mid-70s. Remember, I'm old as dirt. So I'm actually only 35. This is what retail does to you. Just kidding. But here I am working it, and he calls and he says, this guy wants to open a bunch more stores and he's making more money, he knows what to do with. Would you like to come down, join us and help us open these stores? And I said, sure. So I ended up leaving the Garden of Eden and showing up in DC. And most of you are probably too young to remember this shoe, but it became a phenomenon in the 70s and it was called Earth Shoe. So I hope some of you remember it. You have to be as, in your 50s or 60s to remember them. But a Danish woman invents a shoe that's good for your feet. It has a wide toe box so your toes can spread out, and the heel is lower than the front, so you support the weight with the heel of your foot like you do when you're barefooted. it became a phenomena, and we ended up opening dozens of stores across the United States. And at 22, uh, I was wealthy. I mean, I had made a lot of money, and so did my brother and our partner. So good story there, right out of college, right into a business, capitalism at its best. But here's my first pearl of wisdom for you, because I've made lots of mistakes. I've made more mistakes than all of you combined. But I'm here to tell you that if you're not making mistakes, you're not taking enough risks. And this is all about risk reward. And especially since March of 2020, you have got to have taken risks to morph your business into a business that's relevant to the changed consumer, because this consumer has changed during the pandemic. I think we can all agree with that. So, with that said, it's real important that that you learn from your mistakes. And here's the mistake I made. I signed dozens of 10-year leases throughout the country in AA malls, and AA malls are like North Park in Dallas, or the Galleria in Houston. So very expensive leases, 10-year leases. And the parent company of the shoe business went belly up 2 years in. So here I am with dozens of 10-year leases with 8 years left on them. So we lost everything we earned in the stores by buying our way out of those leases. So first lesson learned, first lesson I want to share with you, don't sign a lease that doesn't have a kick-out clause. Do you know what a kick-out clause is? It's a clause to a lease. It's usually 2 years in, and it says, if I'm not doing what I thought I could do, I can walk away from this lease. And it's 2 years in because it takes a couple of years to start making money in a new business. So know that as well. Most businesses go out of business because they didn't have enough money to get through the couple years it takes to start making money. Kick-out clause also lets the landlord ask you to leave if you're not what they expected. So far better that than owing on 8 years on dozens of leases and losing all your money. So that's a lesson there. Always negotiate a kick-out clause. And by the way, since the pandemic started, landlords are very open to negotiation. They don't want to see you close. And many of them are willing to talk about the rent or the mortgage so that you have an opportunity to make it during a downturn in walk-in traffic. So know that many things are negotiable. You ought to be negotiating all your expenses right now to lower them. And there's a number that I want every business to know. And if you decide you want a one-on-one with me, which we'll do virtually for now, but someday I'll be back in Texas, I promise you. But if you want a one-on-one with me, you better know your cash flow break even, because that's what every business owner should know. How much money do you need to do monthly to pay your bills? You've got to know that number, so know your cash flow break even. So with that all said, and you knowing a little bit about me, and I went on to run all sorts of different businesses and whatnot, but let's get into e-commerce because that's the topic at hand. Can I share my screen now, Paula?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I should have that option where?
At the bottom
At the bottom.
of the screen.
I see a share.
Click on
And I
that.
see that square. Now, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir, we can.
E-commerce, important points to consider when selling online?
Yes, sir.
Hey, something's working. Technology at its best. Okay, now. Oh, there I am, in case you're wondering what I look like. I think you can see me on camera, but I get dressed up and look good when I'm all dressed up. So there I am in my work clothes, and that's me. I just wanted you to be able to see who I am. So why are we talking about e-commerce today? I'll tell you why. I spent the last 12 years telling most of my independently owned businesses that they didn't need e-commerce, that a marketing website was really all they needed, that most of your business is done through the four walls of your store and done through experiential and unparalleled customer service and a store that's, looks better and operates better than anybody else's. So, um, I've changed my tune after 12 years. You need more now than just a marketing website. You have to be able to sell online. In fact, the reports that I've read and all the research that I do, and it's what I do in all my spare time, is keep up to date with what the heck's going on during the pandemic and certainly post-pandemic. But why now? Because 70% of the shopping will be done online in 2021. Now, that includes Amazon and the big boxes and Best Buy and everybody else. I don't expect a independently owned business owner to go 70% online. I think that number's too high. But I think prior to the pandemic, most of you only did 5 or 10% of your business online. So it's still a big increase. It's going to be a big increase because what's happened during the pandemic are all the different demographics have learned how to shop online. In fact, the hottest new demographic in 2021 is a baby boomer that did their Christmas shopping online. The new hottest demographic, the demographic you need to be marketing to now, not instead, but along with millennials, Gen X, and Gen Z, are baby boomers because they shopped online during Christmas and loved it. And why did they love it? Because it was convenient and it was safe and they didn't have to leave their home. So they love it and they want more of it. So you have to be able to not only, I'll get to it in a second, but you got to be all channel. That's an outgrowth of omni-channel. I'm sure you've heard the buzzword omni-channel. It's now being moved to all channel, meaning that you have to be able to provide to the customer their product in any manner in which they prefer. And that's all channel. And one of them happens to be online. Do not put your head in the sand. Do not ignore it. Do not think that it's not important for your mom and pop store in Denton, Texas. Don't think that. Because once you become e-commerce, you're open 24/7, 365 globally. I've learned going virtual is a way to scale your business. Shoot, I used to travel all over the country every week. And now for the last 16 months, I've traveled all over the country virtually. And I don't think and one of my colleagues has said this in the past, there will never be anything we invent that is better than face-to-face interaction. So with that said, you've got to make the online experience as delightful as you possibly can. And we're going to talk a little bit about that this morning. So you got to offer the customer what they want, when they want it, and how they want it. So one might ask me immediately, holy mackerel, guys, I have 200 SKUs, stock keeping units. How can I get 200 SKUs onto a website and manage that while I'm trying to run my store? And that's a valid question. It's a good question. The answer is don't put all 200 up. So there's not unwritten, they're written all over the place, but there's tons of 80-20 rules in retail, restaurant, hospitality. They're called the 80-20 rules. And one of them is that 20% of your inventory does 80% of your revenue. So what would I put on my website first? My top 20%. And hopefully those 20% have profit margin in them, because there is no profit with no margin. So you can do a ton of business at 0 points and not make any money. Here's a good statistic for you. What do you think the overall gross profit margin is for Walmart as a whole? Anybody want to gain or guess? Anybody want to raise their hand? Anyone want to jump in? Well, I have a shy group with me today.
Yeah, don't have any takers on that.
No problem. I should answer the questions anyway for time. Guess what Walmart runs on? 2%. You can't run on 2%. You can't compete with Walmart on price. You can't do it. Don't try to do it. You shouldn't have products that Walmart sells. You should stay away from commodities. You should have unique products that aren't sold by big boxes because you can't compete on price. Now, if you can win the customer over with your customer service, which is what you have that they don't have, then more power to you. But you want to put your best products up online because most apparel retailers run at 40%. You got to run between 30 and 40% just to make it to hit your cash flow break even. So running at 2% is impossible for an independently owned business, unless you're a nonprofit. Most nonprofits have to make money anyway. Okay? You have to be omni-channel. We're going to talk about that in a second, but I want to make this point, and that's just why I put it in bold. And do it with empathy, because we're all climbing out of this pickle together. Okay? Everybody's grieving over this situation. No one likes the pandemic. No one likes wearing a mask. No one likes being holed up in their home. No one likes not being able to go to their private store or their own store in town. And you don't want to do everything online because we're hardwired to be social. So be empathetic. I want you to think more about serving your guests than selling a customer. Because I think when you have the mentality of serving, you're less forceful and you're giving them information they need to make a buying decision, and then they make that decision. And I don't care whether we were in a pandemic or not. When I was selling on a sales floor, that's how I always sold. Give them enough information to make an honest decision. And it served me well. And when you're honest with a customer, you have a customer for life. And loyal customers know this. Your loyal customers are 10 times more profitable for you than new ones. Why? Because you didn't spend any time or energy trying to find them. You already found them. Now all you have to do is treat them like gold so you don't lose them. And you need to do special things for them. Like one of the things I recommend is a free shipping code that you can send to your top 20% customers so that they always get free shipping. And we can talk, when we're talking about e-commerce, we're going to have to talk about shipping, because at the end of the day, somebody has to pay for that shipping. And you have to figure that out. You have to figure out who's going to pay for it and how you're going to charge them. Anyways, we'll get to that in a minute. So you have two different customers shopping with you now. You have a customer online and you have a customer that's still coming to your store. And they're two different animals. The person that's still shopping with you in person in your store has to have a comfort level, wants personalization, wants attention, wants practically a personal shopper or concierge service in waiting on them in a store. They may want 6-foot distancing, but Texas has pretty much opened everybody 100% and rescinded the mask requirement. So you guys are full bore, all steam ahead. So you have that customer that's out and about, and it's the customer you're used to. But the online customer typically isn't a browser. They've already done their browsing. They've spent the time they need to spend on your website to see what you have to sell and what they want. And they're much more mission driven. They're much more interested in the convenience of shopping with you than the than the experience that they have. They're looking for a delightful experience. They're looking for a pleasurable experience, and they're looking for convenience, and they're looking for a site that runs with no problems. Do you know what the number one sticking point for people buying online is? The checkout process. And I'm here to tell you that it's got to be frictionless and contactless, which means it's got to be real easy. And Amazon spent $1 billion figuring out how to do it with one click. What's more convenient than going to Amazon, picking out what you want, and hitting one button to buy it? So that's an important thing for you. They have online shoppers have different habits. A lot of online shoppers will buy more than they actually need. That's why returns, when online goes way up, so do returns. And a lot of retailers are coping with that right now, post holidays, that their returns have been much higher than normal. And that's because people bought things online they didn't really want. They just wanted to see them or compare them. They never really intended to keep them, and they're sending them back. So a non-hassle-free return policy that's fast is very important as well. So let's carry on. So I tell people that I go to, I've been to hundreds of towns and have met with lots of business owners. And I'm here to tell you that I can go to any town in America and find you somebody that's doing just fine. And you might, a business owner might ask, well, why are they doing fine? I mean, I'm working my butt off trying to make this work, and my walk-in traffic's down 50%, and my online business is only at 20%. I haven't offset the downturn from not having as many people come in. Well, I have two things to say. One is you need to improve your revenue stream from possibly adding a couple new categories. But secondly, you need to do everything in your power to increase your online sales. And that talks to search engine optimization and being found on Google and being on the first page of search results and things like that. But so when people ask me, why is one store doing so well and others, still really just barely hanging on, you know what the answer is? It's their secret sauce. And you might say, what the heck is that? Their secret sauce is what they do differently and with passion and with energy and with good vibrations. It's what they do in their store that makes customers love shopping there. Make customers feel like they're part of the family. It's what you do so well, and it's usually personality driven, and it comes from either the owner or the person you've hired to run the store if you're not running it. If you have a manager running it, or you have more than one store, so you can't be in all of them. But it's personality driven. And the most successful retailers today, since the pandemic, is they've been able to take their secret sauce and pour it onto their e-commerce website and make that as personal and as enjoyable and as delightful as shopping in your store is. And it's the little things, it's the personal touches, it's the things that you might not even think about, but that make a difference. So it's the secret sauce. And how do you personalize the experience on a website or online? Or even over the phone, even if a customer isn't coming into the store, but they call you, how do you make it personal? I'll tell you exactly how to make it personal. You got to start keeping track of what they buy. And point of sale systems can do that automatically. Almost every new point of sale system has the ability to track sales by customer. Now, I didn't tell you, but I ran 105 clothing stores. Right after I um, closed down Earthshoe, I went to a company called Britches. In fact, I opened a bunch in Dallas and lived there for a while back in the 80s. It was called Britches of Georgetown and Britches Great Outdoors. They were in mostly in Dallas, in Valley View and in North Park and in places in and around Dallas. But anyway, it was a clothing store, and this was 30 years ago, guys. And you know what we did? We hand wrote in books everything our good customers bought from us. Why? Because we wanted to be better prepared to coach them and counsel them and pick out for them products they need to buy in the future. So for your good customers, you really need to think of yourselves as a concierge or a personal shopper. And back in the day, we would pick up the phone and say, you know, so and so, we just got a sport coat in with your name on it. It will be a great addition to your wardrobe, and it's got your style, your sense of style, and what you like written all over it. I'm going to put it inside, so we'll hold it till you can get in here. But we would call our customers when stuff would come in we knew they would love. And that's what you need to be doing now, either through text message, over the phone, or online. So to personalize a sale, you got to know what they bought in the past. And that can be done automatically for you through point of sale. And then you're in the relationship business. You're not a transactional business. You're not a company that sells a product to a customer, has a transaction, and that's the end of it. No, you're far more than that. You are trying to create a relationship with that customer. And now you're trying to not only create it in your store, but you're out there trying to create it online as well. And the small things that you do online can make your customers incredibly loyal to you and never have stepped foot in your store. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. So let's talk about why is e-commerce important? Well, it helps you overcome geographical limitations and gain greater reach. I mean, think about it. Once you go online and sell your product online, you are a global company. You are nationwide. You're open 24/7. You're open 365. You've expanded your reach. It's called scalability. I mean, you're not going to be able to open, you know, a store in every major town in the country, even though I did that for Circuit City. But um, that's not done usually with an independently owned business. Um, it's convenient. E-commerce makes it easy to enable deals and promos and rewards and codes for free shipping and things like that. So, you know, the four C's that the consumer is asking themselves right now, the four C's are convenience, caution, cause, and community. And convenience now trumps caution because we've been in the pandemic long enough for you have made your store safe, and you should have had time to build a robust digital offer to the customer online. So convenience now has moved above caution. Cause is important. People want to see you as bigger than just selling a product to a customer. They want to see you to stand for things and support causes you believe in and maybe they believe in as well. And millennials feel very strongly about this. And the other thing that's happening as the customer becomes more educated and more into current events is you've got to be sustainable. You've got to be a business that worries about the environment and worries about the earth that we're leaving our kids. And, you know, when it comes to shipping, customers are looking for you to be sustainably driven when you pack and ship a product to them. They don't want styrofoam peanuts pouring all over their floor. They want something that's recyclable, something made of soy, something that's, you know, recycled paper that's just been balled up to hold the box inside the box and not a bunch of peanuts. And they want you to be conscious of what you're doing and whether you're polluting the environment in your process of shipping. You're going to gain new consumers through search engine optimization and visibility. So you're going to find new customers that have never shopped with you before. Listen to this statistic. 150 million people globally shopped for the first time online this Christmas. 150 million new people online. And it doesn't matter where they are. If you're on the internet, they can find you. And bottom line, consumers have changed the way they've shopped. There are people shopping online, never shopped online before. But the real consumer, the consumer you really want, is a consumer that wants it both ways. A consumer that wants it always. So the 4 A's that the consumer asks themselves today are these: anywhere, anytime, any place, and anyhow. That's the consumer's desire today. They want to get the product any way they darn feel they want to get it. So what's that mean? That means you have to be able to have it in your store and sell it like you used to. And you have to have it online to either do curbside pickup, local delivery, or ship it to them. But you have to have available to your customer all 4 of those methods, because they're going to choose one of the 4. And for you to be competitive, you have to be able to get that product to that customer in any way of those 4 ways they want. And by the way, the customer feels the safest way to get a product today, or even months ago in the middle of the pandemic, they feel local delivery is the safest way to get a product. So the safest way they think to get the product is for you, one of your people at your store, to bring it to them. Local delivery is the safest way to get a product. You with me so far? Paul, are there any questions? Anybody waiting in the side? Anybody want to ask me anything? Anybody want to add anything? You're muted.
It must be on how to unmute myself, but I have a question, and you may talk about this later.
That's okay. Shoot.
Secure checkout. You talked about Amazon and the one-step checkout. What about secure checkout? Does everybody have that?
That's incredibly important. The reason it's one button is you're secure because you're a Prime member and they already have your information on file. That's what's secure about Amazon. But security is a big issue going forward. We have lots of seminars on it. I'm not an expert in it, but there are people that are definitely experts in it. You guys might offer one. I'm not sure that you do, but cybersecurity is huge right now. And people want to feel like they're spending their money safely.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
So how can somebody tell if they're buying off of a website? Is there a way to tell that the site is secure, that their payment is secure?
I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know how to verify whether a site is secure or not.
Okay. Okay.
We need to find that out. And if there's somebody listening into this seminar that knows the answer to that, please help us.
Yep. Put it in the chat box.
And in the meantime, if we don't get a good answer, we're going to email the answer to everybody that's tuned into this.
So,
Okay.
hi, I'm Amber Keith. I work with Northeast Texas SBDC.
Hey, Amber.
Hey,
Amber.
How are y'all doing?
We're doing great.
So typically there is a little icon that will say site secure, or up in the URL address, it at the end, sometimes it will say secure. But normally, there will be a little icon that says site secure if it is.
Okay.
Yeah, and then if not, typically if it's a good website, it will have some sort of thing that says, if you are having trouble ordering, please call, and then it will have a number to call. Um, at that point, if you're unsure, don't put your credit card information in there. Go ahead and call the number and
Yeah,
verify if it's secure.
absolutely. That is great advice. Okay,
Yeah.
here's another thing that I'm going to mention that would work on that as well. And there are several ways to personalize your website, but one of them is live chat. And if you use one of the platforms that I'm going to recommend to you, all of them have a plugin for live chat. It's called Tidio, Tidio, and it allows people to do a live chat with you on your website. So all they'd have to do is get on the chat and say, is your site secure? And how can you, how can not necessarily prove it to me, but how can you show me that your site is secure? And you can ask them right in a live chat. My recommendation for live chat is only have it open when you're open physically in your store, because you don't want to have to check the chat in the middle of the night. So put the hours that the chat's available right on your website, but have someone available to answer live chats. And talk about personal. You've just taken a sale and made it personal because the customer can ask you questions live. The other thing is to do a live chat on Facebook or do a Zoom chat with the customer so that you can show them the store and the product. You know, one of the things I think you ought to do on Zoom, when you unpack your truck, you ought to Zoom video it. Because when I had 105 stores, when we unpacked our trucks, the customers went wild because they knew they were getting brand new product that no one else had seen yet. So live Zoom, you unpacking the truck and your salespeople getting excited about the new product. That's a perfect way to make a personalized sale. Okay, have we kind of answered that?
Yeah.
Yeah, can we move
Okay.
on? Okay, so selling online, what's the difference? So there's several ways to go online. So an e-commerce platform will take your website and turn it into a shopping website. And the ones, the big ones out there are Shopify, Squarespace, Wix, Weebly, WooCommerce, Lightspeed HQ, BigCommerce. There are a bunch of different platforms that'll help you make your site e-commerce. Now, one of my favorite and one of the biggest is Shopify. Shopify, if you went to Shopify today with your top 20 product or top 20% products, you could be online by tomorrow night. That's how simple and straightforward they made the process of creating the online store. So you use one of those and you turn your store, your website into an e-commerce website. If you don't want to do that and manage an e-commerce website, there are other big guys out there that have marketplaces that you can sell your product on. Amazon has one, Facebook has one, Instagram has one, Walmart has one, Etsy has one. Amazon Marketplace is Amazon's attempt to compete with Etsy. eBay has one. So you can take your product and put it up on their platforms. Now, they manage it and they ship it and they do all of it, but they take a percentage of the sale. You have to be willing to give up a little piece of your profit margin if you're going to use someone else's platform to sell your product. Multi-channel means going beyond just your website and using channels like mobile, direct mail, social media, and other channels to sell your product as well. Again, you don't know what channel the customer has chosen to want to shop on. And the only answer is to be able to execute on all those channels. And what omni-channel refers to is integrating all your different channels together so that they deliver a consistent and personalized experience across all the channels and devices that you're on. This is worth coming to the seminar for. These are your top 5 platforms, what they cost, what their features are, and some of the other things about them, like free trials. So you could go to Shopify and get some product. Hey, and you don't have to get them all up at the same time. You can add more product every day. But what's wrong with trying out Shopify for free for 14 days? They also have the other thing about going with a good e-commerce platform is they all have embedded checkout, meaning they handle the checkout for you, which means they have contactless and frictionless checkout. So you can see the transaction fee for Shopify is 2%, but it's 0% if you use their payment gateway. Facebook's become hugely popular. It's one of the largest databases in the world. 2.5 billion people use Facebook. So my message to you there is, if you don't know how to sell on Facebook or Instagram, find out how. If you don't know how, hire a 25-year-old. If you don't want to do that, go to YouTube and type in the question, how do I sell product directly off Facebook? Or how do I sell it directly off Instagram? And you know, Facebook owns Instagram, so you can connect the two together. So you ought to be selling on both. And if you have a good website of your own and you're on Facebook and Instagram, you're going to be able to reach 95% of the people you're looking for because they're in one place or the other, right? So these are the top e-commerce platforms, and they're good for you to use. Now let me talk about personalization for a minute and the plugins. So I already told you about Tidio. That's the live chat plugin for Shopify and other online platforms. Live inventory. So what's that? Well, first of all, you have 2 inventories now. You have your inventory that you need to sell in your store, and you have the inventory you need to sell online. And you have to be able to keep track of both those inventories. And good e-commerce platforms manage the inventory. The point of sale is connected to the fulfillment, which denigrates the inventory in the right channel. So if you sold it online, it'll denigrate online. If you sold it in the store, it'll denigrate in the store. But it also allows you to show the customer how many of that product you have left live. So it'll say 2 of these items left in extra large. What's that allow you to do? That allows you to create a sense of urgency, and it allows you to create LTOs. What are LTOs? Limited time offers. There's only 2 left. If you buy one right now, I'll give you a 10% discount. If you buy one right now, I'll ship it to you for free. So live inventory is an important plugin. The other plugin is your carrier that you choose, UPS, USPS, DHL, or FedEx. They all have modules and plugins for the customer to track their product because people want to be able to track their delivery. And one of the things they like about Amazon is Amazon can tell you your product's 3 doors away. It'll be at your house in 10 minutes, 5 minutes. People like that, they like to be able to track their product. And especially this past Christmas when everyone was concerned about supply chains and shipping, and that there was a bottleneck in getting products to customers in time for Christmas or for the holidays. Everybody wanted to know how long it was going to take their product to be delivered. The other great thing that point of sale systems and e-commerce systems can do is recommend other products to the customer. So you know how when you buy from Amazon, you can people that bought what you're buying also bought this and this. You can do that on your own website. You can show them additional products that customers typically buy when they buy the product the customer is currently looking at. These are all ways to improve your business. These are all ways to make it more personal. Because no matter, all the reports say everything's going to be more online. But in the same breath, they say, and the customer's looking for the experience and personalization. And those two fly in the face of each other unless you know how to do it. Okay? So let's move to your website real quick. The other thing I want you to do on your website is you got to get found and you've got to be on the first page of results on Google, on search results. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to record a 30-second video. And I want the video to be your elevator speech, which is who you are, what you do, but most importantly, why the customer should care. And it's also called a destination statement. You need to be able to finish this sentence. I am the only store in Denton that, and be able to answer that question. But take the geography for what you qualify for. You may be the only store in the state of Texas that does what you do. You may be the only store in the country that does what you do. And you need to let people know that. It's called a destination statement. And the definition of unique is one of a kind. And you've got to point out what makes you one of a kind. And the second half of that video has to be a few pointers on what you did to make your store safe during the pandemic. It's comforting. It's good to know that you've gone through those steps to make your environment safe, not only for the customer, but for your employees and for yourself. And it's 30 seconds because that's the attention span of an adult. So you only got about 30 seconds to say it, but that's what you got. So just take it with your phone, put it on YouTube. By the way, you ought to have a YouTube channel where you're putting your Zoom recordings and anything else you do from a video standpoint. You ought to encourage video amongst your staff because Americans love video. It's their marketing venue of choice. People want to see something, they don't want to read about it. So they'd rather watch a short video than read about it. So you ought to have a YouTube channel. And you ought to type in, if you don't know how to put a video on your homepage, just type it into YouTube, and YouTube will have a dozen videos showing you exactly how to do it. But let me ask you this. Who owns YouTube? Paula, do you know who owns YouTube?
Google.
Of course they do. Google owns YouTube. So here is one of the reasons you came to hear me speak today. This is a pearl of wisdom that many people don't know, but it's true. When Google searches for results, the first thing they look for is video because they own YouTube. The mere fact that you've put a video on your website, you will show up in a search result before your competitors that don't have video. And Americans are lazy. And they think if you're not on the first page of results, you're not worth finding. Because that's really what they look at. They look at the 5 or 8 companies that show up on the first page of results. And that's exactly where you want to be. So I just gave you, $1,000 or $2,000 worth of search engine optimization work for free. So thank you for coming for that, because it's worth it and you ought to do it. And it's not hard to do. Once you do it once, you'll go, my goodness, this wasn't hard. So do it and have it on your website. So world searches on Google, those searches turn into customers, 5 billion searches for restaurants, 3 billion for hotels, and 1 billion for clothing stores every month. And the reason I bring this slide up is you've got to have a Google My Business page. It's free and you got to do it. How do you do it? You go to your URL, go to Google, and type in GYBO. Get your business online. And that takes you to the form you fill out to have a Google My Business page. What is a Google My Business page? It's the page that has the thumbtack with the map with the thumbtacks in it that shows exactly where you're located. And beneath the map are 3 buttons. These 3 buttons are the best introduction to a customer of your business. The 3 buttons are these: directions, all, and website. There's never, or there isn't anything better for your customer to find you than to have those 3 buttons. There's also a place for images and videos. There's a place for Google reviews. There's a place for links. The more connected you are on the internet, the better Google likes you. It's also a place to tell people to put Google reviews because Google loves Google reviews. So no more on that other than you've got to have a Google My Business page. So if you don't have one, you could have one by tomorrow simply by going to Google and filling out the form. According to Google, businesses with photos get 42% more requests for directions and 35 more clicks through to their website. So use the opportunities for video and pictures there. Make sure that you've updated your listings, that you have a logo that and cover photo, that you have links to Facebook and Instagram. And don't stop there. Show off your locations, products, and handiwork by having as many additional photos as possible. Your hours of operation are systemic and dynamic, meaning they change daily based on what you've told Google your hours are. So that's a good thing, as well as your hours are live on the Google My Business page. So that's important too. So make sure you have a good Google My Business page. Some easy e-commerce strategies will ensure that your navigation and search capability is easy and intuitive and problem-free. Just remember, if someone runs into a problem on your website trying to navigate it or check out, they're only one keystroke away from leaving and going to someone else's that's easier. So make sure that it's easy. Brush up on your product and quality of photographs and descriptions. Your descriptions should only be two lines, 2 bullet points. They don't want anything longer than that. Personalize your homepage with those plugins. Focus on consistent and unique content. Set up your email blast there. Email's the only actually data that you truly own. You don't own the data on Facebook, Instagram, and your website because the host owns it. So do collect email addresses. They're still very effective. Optimize your shopping cart and checkout process and make it easy and intuitive. Build advertising strategies with a budget. Back in the old days, it used to be that you should spend about 4% of sales on gross sales on advertising. That number's gone down to 2% because so much of what you can do on the internet is at no cost. So 2% of overall sales is a good advertising budget. That means that you can go beyond the internet to market your company. If the local TV is or a local radio is listened to, or if there's a local newspaper in your town that's read, support both of those local businesses. They're typically privately owned. So you want to encourage them as well. And then encourage your good customers to respond to things and comment on things and provide user generated content, because customers love to see what other customers are saying. And don't ignore review sites. You ought to know about TripAdvisor, and you ought to know about Yelp, and you ought to have listings on both of those, because those are other places that people use to find you. So make sure that you're capable of that. Okay. 5 important steps to a digital strategy. Define your goal. Make sure your goal is in concert with selling your product and supporting your community. So make sure your overall goal is bigger than just a transactional process with a customer. Improve your website SEO any way you can using keywords, good photos, linked and short videos. Direct messages to your ideal customers, and make sure those customers have the wherewithal to spend money. So go after customers, and that's what boosting sales and running Facebook ads helps you do. It helps you find more customers that look like the customers that are currently shopping with you. So it goes after people that look like customers already shopping with you. And maximize your channel mix, and keep your posts regular and updated. Nothing worse than a Christmas sale on a site that's in March. So update your posts. And make social media work for you. This is the last slide. Know your audience. Choose your most relative social media, whether that be Instagram or Facebook. Update your info regularly. Don't let social media use up all your time. Find one or two and connect Instagram and Facebook together and use them both. Understand that online activities comes with pitfalls. Clarify inaccurate comments. Encourage satisfied customers to post, and always keep experimenting. Make mistakes if you have to. That's what I had for you today. It looks like I'm almost out of time, but are there questions in the queue, Paula?
I have another one. I have another question.
Okay.
Looking at websites, is there a particular color palette that is more attractive to a consumer? Like looking at Amazon, Amazon is like black and white and red, but or could it possibly depend on the item that the consumer is going to find, whether or not they would like the look? Because I know that when I look at a website and the colors are just all wrong, I'm thinking, I don't want any part of that.
Yeah, you're right, but it's hard to determine what customer group wants what colors. I do know that blue works incredibly well on the internet, the color blue, but just know that it should be in concert with the branding of your company. Your website should enjoy and show the same colors that your store does, and your business card does, and your signage does. You need to brand the company. Branding is an opportunity to try to improve recall, and recall is done through continuity of fonts, colors, sizes, and all those things working together to brand your company.
Okay, we've had one question. Will the slides of the presentation be shared with us? And Natalie, what we'll do is we have been recording this conversation, and the entire presentation will be on our website. So you'll have access to that. I would like to provide the slide that had the e-commerce platforms.
Yeah.
And to do that, to provide it to everyone, I just want to mention that we'll be sending out a survey after this webinar, and everyone that responds to the survey will get a copy of that slide.
Perfect.
So we send out surveys so that we can make sure that we're providing the information that is beneficial to our client base and to anyone that wants to actually attend our webinars and be part of this education process that we're going through. Thank you so much, Mark, for helping us out, for being with us. I'm going to go ahead and share my, there we go. Right here, these are our upcoming webinars. We have a new presenter coming to us in a couple of weeks. Lorna Kibbe will be joining us doing a presentation on why is communication always a problem. I always ask, and shoot, I always ask that question myself. And then we'll bring back our social media person, Marsha Hudson, to talk about leveraging LinkedIn for business growth. Then we have Mark back talking about fulfillment in 2021. Lorna will be back talking about listening. Oh my goodness. That thing we don't want to hear about. And then on May 4th, we'll have Rebecca Schultz back to give us our monthly update on PPP. You can go to our website, www.sbdc.nctc.edu, and you can register for the webinars there. And you can get contact information, schedule an appointment with an advisor. We have lots of resources on that site as well for small businesses. We want to thank you all for joining us, and we especially want to thank the Small Business Administration, the State of Texas, North Texas SBDC Regional Office, and North Central Texas College, who provide funding through grants so that we're able to provide these webinars to you at no cost. Thank you all for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you next time. So enjoy the rest of your day, and this will end the webinar. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, everybody. I hope I taught you something.
Thanks so much.